Just a little bit of our potatoes out here curing, some Yukon Golds and some Adirondack Blues. Bring them in from the garden. We don't wash them. We just bring them right in and let them dry up a little bit on the porch. You don't really want them in the sun, so I'm gonna cover these with a sheet in a minute. But that's how you start. But maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. Welcome back. It is a sunny day, and it is one of my favorite days because today we are pulling potatoes. And I like planting potatoes, I like growing potatoes, but I really like pulling potatoes because I love seeing what has happened beneath the soil surface and how we did. And this year it looks like we did pretty good. Last week we pulled a mess of Adirondack Blue potatoes from here in the grocery row gardens. You can see the grocery row gardens are looking pretty impressive now. I really got to do a tour for you guys, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. But okay, let's stop looking at that. Go over here past the wheat, past our other rows. Oh, look, it's no-till. It's mulch. Don't tell anybody, okay? You're gonna ruin my reputation. All right, then come down here, right through here on the yam beds. That's these beds right here. We pulled more Adirondack Blue potatoes. We got a total of 65 pounds of Adirondack Blues recorded from what we planted, and I'll have to go back and check and see how much weight we actually planted, but it was a good return. This first row right here was where we had our Yukon Gold potatoes. Then here we have our Kennybecks, which are not ready yet. And then here are Pontiac potatoes. It's a red variety. And these have been yielding pretty good. I reckon we're probably gonna get about 50 pounds or something like that out of this row. And then this final row right here, which is about ready to pull as well, is a variety called Red Lesota. And we could pull that today as well, but I don't know if we're going to get to it because we're doing a little bit of work on the house. And I just wanted to get some potatoes in while the sun is shining because it's been really rainy, and I don't want to just leave them in the ground to sit here underneath these dead vines and potentially get rot issues or get eaten by bugs, etc. If you have seed potatoes to plant, you could just tuck them into any corner. Like right here, I've got strawberries, and then right beside it, I've stuck an extra potato in, which means I can get a little extra yield out of that. Potatoes are super easy. You just kind of stick them in soil. You don't have to do a lot of hard work to get them to do anything, and they don't really need particularly excellent soil in order to grow these. Here we simply just took a little bit of manure and tilled the weeds under, and I put a little bit of ashes out there too. And I know some people will say, don't put ashes on your potatoes, you don't want to get it all alkaline, they'll get scab and that kind of thing. But I'm not particularly worried about that because our soil is quite acid here, and I figure a little bit of extra calcium and nutrients are going to help. And you can see here in the grocery rows, we just stuck potatoes where we had space. These are mostly, these are russets from the grocery store, which we sprouted, which you're totally not allowed to do, remember? And kind of scattered here and there through the grocery rows, there are potatoes. And so these potatoes will come out, and then these taro will be later in the season, another afterwards. And right now, we're getting cucumbers in between, which is a wonderful thing about the grocery row gardens, is that you're kind of growing different stuff through the year and you're naturally interplanting. So early in the season, in January, February, beginning of March, I'm sticking potatoes all over, and that's long before I've got these cucumbers and okra and tobacco, and then sweet potatoes, which are going to be late in the season. We'll be harvesting those right before frost, and right now we're harvesting potatoes before the rest of it is even barely running. Most of my organization of these gardens, I put towards perennials and towards more tropical crops. So if I've got space, I could stick in cabbages and turnips and potatoes early in the season and get a yield before hardly anything is even running out here. Potatoes are one of those crops that you can really get full on. If you don't know how to grow potatoes, you need to learn how to grow potatoes. And I've showed you other videos how we planted them. We just tilled the ground under here, we made some beds, planted potatoes, basically actually we just made trenches, put the potato seed in them, and then turned around and mounded the soil up afterwards. And then once you pull your potatoes, now we'll go back to how I started the video. These potatoes just came in from the garden. These are the red Pontiac, which is a very nice productive variety. It is a determinate potato, meaning that it produces a bunch of potatoes all at once, and that is it. It's not the type that you just keep mounding up and it keeps making potatoes. That works for some varieties, but here in the South, we want potatoes that produce fast before they succumb to the heat and diseases and bugs, etc. So these came in right out of the garden. First thing I do is I try to sort out potatoes that are not up to the grade. You know, this one's got some holes in it. This one's got some weird issues on it. Those go right to the pigs. Or if they are potatoes that have gotten green, that one's not good enough. That one goes out of here. If they're potatoes that have gotten green and they're not rotten, this is the reject pile right here. I'll stick them in a box like this, and I'll throw a sheet over the top of the box and just let them sit in here. And it's important to let them dry down first before you do that. So let's look at how we're drying them. The ones that I had in the box are gonna keep and give me seed for next year, provided I don't just put them in wet from the garden. These are still cool and moist feeling because they came right out of the moist soil, and I give them a little bit of air space in between, and then you just let them dry for a little bit. And once they have dried up well, they will keep. And you can keep them in your pantry. You know, I put them in bags, paper bags, anything that can breathe, cardboard boxes, and then we try to just either keep the paper bag shut or keep some sort of covering over the box, because you do not want your potatoes turning green. If they turn green, that means they're developing chlorophyll from the sunlight, and if that happens, what you're gonna end up with is a higher level of solanine, which is a toxin in potatoes that will give you an upset stomach, and you really don't want that. It's not good for you. It makes your joints hurt, can give you a headache, can make you throw up, etc. Don't eat green potatoes. If you see a green potato, that looks like a green potato. Take that, put it in your seed box. Keep the ones that are not green, that have remained covered all season, and eat those, but don't eat green potatoes. Thank you for joining me. It's been good to have you along through this spring season as we grow potatoes and we get them out to harvest. So much fun because we get to diggity dig. And if you're in a place where you can grow potatoes, one of the very best survival crops you can grow, one of your top calorie producers, small space gardening, large yields. It's gonna keep you full, unlike lettuce or tomatoes or something like that. If you grow potatoes and you know how to grow them and you save your own seed and you grow them from year to year, you are going to be able to stay full in a crisis, and that is super important. It also takes a lot off of your budget. We're going to be eating potatoes now for 3 to 4 months from the garden, and they are super, super good from the garden. You won't realize how good they taste until you grow your own and you taste what potatoes are supposed to taste like. So if you want to learn more about survival gardening and calorie crops and how to keep yourself fed no matter what happens, check out the book, Grow or Die, The Good Guide to Survival Gardening. Thank you all for joining me. I appreciate you being here. I was just out here pulling potatoes and I thought, you know what? I better grab my wife's phone and film it. So here it is. It's a film on my wife's phone by David the Good. And until next time, may your thumbs always be green. Here we are, a last shot of what we ended up coming out with today. Red, white, and blue. Or actually, red, yellow, and blue, but let's just tint it so it's red, white, and blue. The potatoes of America.